Hey, welcome everybody. War Sports Wins Above Replacement Podcast, Episode 3. We're going to kick it off with the playoff edition, getting ready for Week 1 of the NFL playoffs, the wild card round. This year's a little different. It's going to be only one team gets a bye, and everybody else kind of has to duke it out. And they added an extra playoff team, and we're going to see what happens. But as of every other time we've met, this is Ben and Dion. And we're going to just jump right into the AFC and see what Dion has as far as the scouting goes on that side of the conference. So what game we're looking at first, Colts and Bills?
Yes, we got Colts and Bills. Like you said, it's a really great weekend. Usually on wild card weekend, you got 4 games. You got your 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games on Saturday, and then your 11 and 1 on Sunday. Well, this weekend it's going to be a lot different, where you're going to have 3 games, 11, 2, and 6, Saturday and Sunday. So that's kind of fun, kind of exciting to have 3 games each day. So anyway, we're going to jump into the Bills Colts. I'm going to go over the AFC. Bills Colts we got in the first game on Saturday, the only AFC game on Saturday. This is actually the only game this weekend with the AFC that's not rematch of a game from earlier this year. Buffalo's been playing outstanding football the last 4 or 5 weeks. Had he been playing like this early in the year, he may very well, Allen may very well may be the MVP. He's been out playing Mahomes, been right up there with Rodgers, and they're just electric. That team's been electric the last 4 or 5 weeks, and honestly, coming in playoffs, it's exactly what you want to see, a team peaking at the right time. And a little bit of concerns there with Diggs and Beasley are both a little banged up. They're both on the injury report as questionable. And I know they're both going to play. Frank Reich coming home, a lot of little different stories in there. Frank Reich coming home, used to be the backup for Jim Kelly for 8 years there. 8 of his 9 years as a backup was there in Buffalo. So he's kind of coming home. And this is the time of year, where home field usually is huge. This year it's gonna be a little different. How much is it gonna benefit some teams? Buffalo, they're only allowing 6,700 fans in this weekend, so that's gonna be interesting to see. They're gonna be fired up. This is their first home game in 24 years. Ironically enough, so Buffalo has been 0-6 since '95 in playoff games, and they're 0-2 with McDermott. And as far as Indy goes, this is what Rivers was brought here for, right? Someone a consistent quarterback that can get him over the hump. And that's kind of what he does. He doesn't, he just, all he does is plays every week, shows up and produces, right? Is he going to get him over the top? It's yet to be seen. But with injuries, I'm kind of curious to see how these injuries with Diggs and Beasley are, because those are 2 big weapons for Allen. And I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to play out. And there's another little stories. You got some good young coaches that are getting some looks from this game. Dabble and Eberflus from Indy and Dabble from Buffalo. Dabble, actually, he's done a tremendous job in bringing Josh Allen to where he is. He was kind of a reckless quarterback his first couple of years, and this year he's not making those crazy mistakes that he used to make, the costly mistakes. So it's gonna be an interesting game. I'm excited for that one. It's a nice one to start off the weekend with. What are your thoughts on this game here?
I guess my initial thoughts is kind of like, as far as the quarterbacks go, it's kind of the gutsy kind of veteran last leg kind of Phillip Rivers versus a young gun, kind of real talented, kind of reckless gunslinger and Josh Allen. But it's going to come down to mistakes, right? Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes, and who's going to be disciplined and let their defense do a little bit of their job too, and try to keep the other offense off the field. So that's one thing I kind of, on the angle that I'm looking at, as well as both the running backs in Indianapolis have really come on, as far as Taylor and they're just doing a lot of work over there and limiting the amount of mistakes Phillip Rivers can make, and not forcing them have to make big plays. So can they get going? That's a big deal there. Yeah. And then, how big has Diggs been? That trade from Minnesota coming over, it just made Josh Allen a different quarterback.
It has. It really has.
And so, being banged up, if he's limited, I think Brown's coming back. He came back last week, and that's another deep threat on the side of the other side of the football. But Beasley, is always a slot threat. Knox and a couple other tight ends do their thing, and their running back is kind of by committee up there. So Moss is getting some carries. I think Singletary's kind of still in the mix. Yeah. So it depends on if someone gets hot and it's going to be that quarterback's making mistakes and defenses. It's that old school win the turnover battle, and you probably have a chance to win the game, and we'll see what happens there. So
things are definitely heightened in the playoffs. Like you said, mistakes, it can cost you, and it's going to be who makes the mistake. Phillips Rivers, he'd get to the playoffs and it seems like he'd make a mistake. Against Pittsburgh, he made mistakes back early in his career, like just a simple mistake, like you said, and so that could be interesting.
So the Bills are 6.5 point favorites at home. And the over-under number is 51. What do you think when you hear those two things?
With the healthy Diggs and Beasley, I feel like that's fair. You're at home, you got to get some. It's gonna be cold. I don't know though, man. I'm telling you, I don't want to say I feel like I said earlier, Buffalo's playing the best football. Really, if you across the league, they've been playing some of the best football lately. But just something about this game where you always hear about what's the best way to beat someone like Allen, Mahomes, Rodgers, keep the ball out of their hands, right? They got a good defense. Indianapolis has a good defense already, and they run the ball. Taylor and Hines is just unbelievable how good they've been, and if they can keep the ball out of their hands. So like I said, I'm not sure about that 6.5. Like I said, I don't know. The under, I think I'm gonna hit the over on that one personally.
I agree. I think the over is in play. 51's not a lot of points for an NFL game. I think as good as Indy is with their defense, it's a little overvalued. I mean, I think the Bills can put up a bunch of points if they had to, but I also think that if the Colts defense can keep them off the field and give them a chance to have some long drives and Rivers not have to be forced to make a lot of plays, they could be pretty efficient and get touchdowns and not field goals. You don't want field goals up in the upper New York area. You don't want to be kicking in that wind and those elements. So I think the over is in play. As far as the 6.5 goes, I mean, I think if it's closer than that, then the Colts win outright. You know what I mean? That's almost. I don't know that it comes down to I don't know if it comes down to a last possession kind of game, but
I agree.
If I had to make one of those bets, I'm taking the over for sure.
I agree too. If I'm taking the over now, if I'm Indianapolis, I want that. If it's going to be under, it's going to be an Indianapolis win. I feel if it's going to hit the over, Bills, it's because the Bills can score at will and they just run away with it at the end. But yeah, so if I'm an Indy fan, I'm pushing for that under big time. Because that's their best chance of winning, keeping it a lower scoring game. And like I said, keeping the ball out of Allen's hands. So my predictions on this one, I got to go with Buffalo. They're at home. They're hungry. They're young. I'm gonna say Buffalo wins this game. I'm not gonna give any scores, anything like that. I'm just gonna say Buffalo wins this game, and I feel like they cover. So,
okay, cool. I think I'm gonna go in this particular game. I think Buffalo does win. I think that they're gonna probably cover and probably pour it on a little bit to kind of so show that they're a contender to be reckoned with. It might be a 2-score win. You know what I mean? A 7 or what is it, 6.5 anyway? It might be a 10 to 17 point win. But I'm not going to give a score either because I don't know. But I think they would cover. I don't love it as far as a bet I would make, but the over feels more comfortable.
I agree. I agree with you there. So
the next
now
game,
we're going to game 2. Yeah, we got game 2 here. This is going to be game 2 of the AFC. This is going to be the first game on Sunday, 11 o'clock. Ravens Titans. Now this one here is starting to become a bit of a rivalry. Maybe some old school AFC North, rivalry stuff here going on. You got Ravens Titans know each other well. They played each other this year, and Tennessee beat them earlier this year. Then last year, you go back to last year, Lamar Jackson's first playoff run as MVP, great season. They beat them last year too. So they beat them the last 2 times. And, again, you go back to, like I said about Rivers coming to Indy for something like this. Well, that's why Baltimore has shored up their defense line, right? Calais Campbell is brought over. This is what he's brought over for. So for stuff like this,
Peters is there. Peters is there.
Yeah, Peters, yep. And so, like I said, Baltimore's coming in on a 5-game winning streak too. So they're hot. A lot of people are saying this is the team to beat. This is the team nobody wants to face. They're playing great. I mean, they're averaging 191 yards on the ground. And they're number 1 in yards and yards per carry. But Titans are right there behind them at 168 yards per game. So like I said, it's going to be a heck of a battle. Derrick Henry in his last two meetings, he had last year in the playoffs, he had 195 yards rushing. And then this last game, he had 133. Now, 89 of that 133 came in the last quarter, like towards, and then I believe it to go to overtime. I think it went to overtime as well. Again, with this game here, you got Lamar Jackson trying to, all the hype last year, winning the MVP, and coming into this year, they expect a lot coming out the gates, but they start off a little slower. People questioning, is he as accurate as he thought they thought he was? Dobbins was brought in, and they got a 3-4 headed monster in running back. If you really look at it, if Ingram's really kind of not been used as of late, but Gus Edwards is tough. Dobbins is great. And then you got Lamar, and he loves Mark Andrews, right? He's always looking for Mark Andrews, especially in the red zone. This year, again, Mark Andrews was not, his numbers were a little bit down from last year, but I think that goes just from Lamar's throwing in general this year. It's just the teams are starting to catch up to him, it seems, but he's having to find other ways to win as well. And Tannehill, he's not, say what you want, man, game manager, whatever you want to call it, but 3,800 yards again this year, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. That's pretty damn good, man. I mean, but again, like I said, does he have enough to get you over the hump, to get you where you need to go? Like I said, made it to the AFC Championship game last year, but can they continue on with that?
What do you feel as far as beyond Andrews? Brown's been in the mix a little bit with Lamar, but he ran for 1,000 yards. Lamar Jackson did. He really was the main offensive threat. Yep. If you limit his, if they have some defense that, Vrabel, he came from a little bit of that Belichick defensive tree. He knows him well. He did beat him at home last year, ruin Lamar's MVP season. But how much can they put to scheme to contain Lamar, and what kind of defense is he going to come up with and make him make plays to Andrews and Brown down the field? And again, I feel like every time I watch the Ravens game, Dobbins and Gus, they really were only threats because of Lamar's ability to get out and extend some plays. So you make them one-dimensional. I am a little bit afraid of that offense if they can hang. On the other side of the ball, though, Tannehill really is stretching the field with Davis and Brown. I mean, they're really, they're big receivers, and anytime you put Henry in the mix and he's running all day, and you have to go who wants to tackle that guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So AJ Brown's a tough matchup for anybody.
Yeah. No, definitely. So I gotta lean Titans. I just don't know that as good as Lamar is, and as much as he makes out of nothing, I don't know that Tennessee is gonna. I think that they're hungry. They got as far as the AFC Championship last year. I think they want some validation. I think there's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder right there for Tannehill and Vrabel, and they play tough. So they're the home team. They're more well-rounded, and I just think that they're probably going to pull this off tomorrow on Sunday for sure.
My biggest question is Tennessee's defense. They've been so bad the last few weeks. I mean, even Houston got a good offense. That went down to the wire last week, but the last few weeks is just their defense is just. I feel like they should be so much better than they are. So I don't know what's going on there, especially with Vrabel as your head coach. You think that'd be an emphasis in there, but like I said, the Titans are at home. But I'm my prediction here. Do you have the spread? What's the spread and over under?
Yeah. I'll pull that up real quick. I'll give you those numbers. Let me make sure we get it right. Currently, it's the Baltimore Ravens are a 3-point favorite. They're and they're Tennessee being a home dog with a +3, and then also the over under is 54.5. So
so for me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going with Baltimore this game. I just feel like they're just too good on both sides of the ball. They're just a better team. Again, the home field, how much is it going to be an advantage right now with COVID stuff going on? I think that helps Baltimore a lot. It's going to be a closer game. I'm going to definitely take the under.
A lot of running.
I think Baltimore, I'm going to take Baltimore winning it by a field goal. Justin Tucker's going to take them to the next round to a rematch, a game against the Chiefs next weekend.
So you're going to go with a push to barely cover that 3. Okay.
That's right.
That's not bad. But one thing I do wonder about is how much Lamar's revenge on his mind for ruining that MVP season. You know what I mean? Like, I can't help but think that, that is on his mind. And yeah. And Harbaugh too. Harbaugh is looking across the field at the team that beat him last year. It was supposed to be a destiny-filled year. That Baltimore kind of had it all in the bag, and everybody was already putting him in the Super Bowl. And I wouldn't be surprised that Harbaugh does not pull out a trick play or two, or do something specifically special teams wise. I think he's known for that. Block a punt and do something. But I think we're gonna see all the stops pulled out to try to get a Baltimore win.
Most definitely.
I just feel like Tennessee just, they just feel like a more complete team. I know the last few games definitely are not good defensively, and if I'm Baltimore, you know how much tape they got with Deshaun Watson tearing them up last year, and Lamar can do all the things that Deshaun can almost do. So Brandon Cooks really tore him up, right? I mean, that deep threat, if Brown can get deep, or who knows what could happen. Yeah, but we're going to disagree on this one. You know what I mean? But that's the fun of having the debate.
Absolutely. So all right, so
game 3
now takes us. Yep, game 3. This will be the Sunday night matchup, Sunday night football. What better way than to finish your wild card weekend off with a rubber match here of the AFC North matchup between the Steelers and Browns. This one here is tons of bad blood here. You can go back to Myles Garrett to
just dog pound days.
It's just dog pound days. It's just this is it. This is the original rivalry here, right from the AFC Central days. Browns had some COVID issues. A couple weeks ago against the Jets, they had no wide receivers. Last week they had a couple defenders out. This week now they have no their coaches, right? Their head coach is gone, so they got Mike Pfeiffer and Alex Van Pelt will be running the show. He'll be calling the plays. So some interesting things here. Pittsburgh has absolutely owned Cleveland at Heinz Field specifically. They're 20-1 against the Browns at Heinz Field overall, including a 36-33 playoff win back in 2002. So, but you say that, and you got Pittsburgh coming off, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games. But then at the same time, Cleveland, I mean, you had, now a lot of it has to do with the COVID stuff. They had the loss to the Ravens, then they lost to the Jets, and then they came in to play Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh second teamers, and say what you want, but Pittsburgh second teamers took them to the wire, and almost had a chance to tie the game and take it to overtime, which and possibly knock them out of the playoff contention. The first time, their first time in the playoffs since 2002, since the Steelers beat them. And like I said, tried to knock them out, but it wasn't easy for them, and congratulations to the Browns. That's got to be huge regardless of who you play. And they earned it. They've had a great year. They had a nice stretch where they had won 4 or 5 in a row. So at times Baker Mayfield has looked like that quarterback that everybody thought he would be and hoped he could be. And so like I said, they did obviously earlier in the year. They played in October at Heinz, and Pittsburgh beat them 38-7. And that was honestly one of Pittsburgh's better wins this season. It was one of their best played overall. Of course they went 11-0, but some of those 11-0 games felt kind of empty or felt kind of hollow, or just things just didn't seem like it was, they won, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel that great. Like there's something was missing or something wasn't right. And, of course we both know that came to a head later on and they went on that little skid, but, that said, the Cleveland game was one of their most convincing games, and Pittsburgh's looking for its first playoff victory in 4 years. You look at a franchise like Pittsburgh, and it's one of them ones you think, hey, they're a great franchise. They they win playoff games all the time, but hey, it's been 4 years since the last playoff victory for Pittsburgh. Now, like I said, you got two contrasting styles, right? You got Cleveland run. They're based off of their run game with Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and then Baker Mayfield's mobility. And Pittsburgh were last in the league in rushing and yards per attempt. But they did have some of their better success this year against Cleveland. They had 129 yards rushing in their first game when they the 38-7 victory, and then in the defeat last week they had 85 yards rushing. Now, granted, 28 yards of that came on Josh Dobbs coming in and running the option. But no big notes here for his injuries. Like I said, you got. Bitonio is out for Cleveland. Chris Hubbard will be starting for him. And then on Pittsburgh's side, this one kind of hurts for me personally, being a Steelers fan, is Joe Hayden playing his former team, which very well could be his last game in Pittsburgh, because I don't know if they're going to pick up his contract next year. There's a lot goes into that, how much he's going to ask and all that stuff, but very well could be Joe Hayden's last game in Pittsburgh. If they lose, then we saw his last game 2 weeks ago. A lot of stories there. So what are you looking at for this game?
A couple of things for sure. One question I got to challenge you on is, if the Cleveland Brown team that played the Ravens in that primetime game shows up, what kind of night could it be for Pittsburgh?
It could be a long night. I really could. That was one of them nights where everything was working for Cleveland, and they got up for it, right? I mean, and maybe it's that prime time that they want to show they're here, and that they want to do the same thing this week, right? They want to show up and say, hey, we're here. This ain't a fluke. We didn't just back into the playoffs. We're for real. We're a contender, and what better way to do it than to beat our division rival in their place? So they're coming in with a lot of motivation. So it could be a long night if they could play like that.
And the other side of it too, I mean, you talked about the head coach being out with COVID, but I remember hearing a story a couple of days ago that a couple of players were drag racing and kind of acting a fool. I wonder what kind of internal disciplinary action they're going to be taking, or how that kind of just loose vibe in the Cleveland facility.
Right.
How dedicated are they to getting in front of their playbooks and meeting and preparing for this game when they're out messing around doing that kind of stuff. So I don't understand it.
Yep, it's one of them things where hey, you made it, and that's be happy and be proud of that. But there's bigger, now it's on to the next. Let's go win a game now, right? Let's not just be happy making it to playoffs. Let's take that next step and let's win a playoff game.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't, Baker Mayfield out there driving his, Lambo or something, messing around, trying to be fast and furious. But any player shouldn't be doing that anyway, regardless of time of year. But right before the playoff game, you got to be smarter than that, man. But, we'll see what happens. I do think.
Just give me the spread and the over under here. What we got here?
Yeah, the spread is Pittsburgh 5.5 point favorites. Over under another low score, 47.5. My first thought is, I don't know about Van Pelt, calling plays all by himself, not having the full coaching staff available, and then how much Baker's going to respond in those key moments. So those two are going to be on the same page. 5.5 doesn't feel like a lot. It could be a trap game where people maybe think Cleveland's going to keep it close and get blown out, or Cleveland could win outright. I don't know. It's one of those really almost a toss up, because both teams they're not firing on all cylinders. Anything can happen. You lean Pittsburgh because of history and home field, but and also I can't help but feel, like I said, the coaching staff not being there and the lack of focus overall. I don't know that I would bet the money line. I mean, I might bet the Pittsburgh money line, maybe in a parlay or something, but I really don't know what the score is going to be. This is one of those game you just can't tell.
It's one of the ones where you hope you've won enough money throughout the rest of the weekend that
you don't have to bet it.
Dip back and just watch the game. Yeah. Okay, for me,
for sure.
5.5. I gotta. This is going straight from my heart, because being a Steelers fan, I feel like the Steelers are going to cover that, and I'm also going to take the over. I feel like they're going to come out and they're going to try to stretch the field early, try to get Claypool involved early. I think getting him involved early is key, because then it's going to open up some running, some of the running game and stuff. There's been some mention about Dobbs coming in for a couple of packages, a couple of different looks. I'm not so sure that's going to happen this week. I think there might be keep that in their pocket for next week. But my prediction is going to be Pittsburgh will cover. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover, and I'll take the over as well. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring game. And Pittsburgh will get into the 30s, and I think Cleveland won't be too far behind them. But I think Pittsburgh's going to cover still. Going back to Van Pelt, though, and it's something I did think about. It's something I want to keep my eye on is, could this be something where, hey, I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna pull out. I'm gonna pull out all the stops. I'm gonna do every, so that could be an advantage for Cleveland, or something where Pittsburgh can't prepare for, where teams that know each other so well, they know everything they run. Well, now maybe Van Pelt's gonna go a little down on that chart and say, hey, here's a couple plays that they haven't seen. Could be. So kind of something curious to see. So that's the AFC for the weekend. Like I said, one game on Saturday, and we got the 2 games on Sunday. The 11 o'clock and 6 o'clock game. So we also got an amazing slate for the NFC.